Hey guys, this is Gerry O reporting for Kids First, and today we're reviewing the brand new film, The First Man, which is an extraordinarily and intense film that really shows you the dangers of space travel and how much buildup it takes to get to the most amazing moments in human history. First Man follows the very first person to ever set foot on the lunar surface, Neil Armstrong. But it's not just about his incredible endeavors in space, it's about him as a human being and exactly who he was, because it's not really known right now and it's not really taught who Neil Armstrong as a man was, and is only taught the achievement that he set foot on the moon. The story begins with the X-15 rocket launch plane in which Neil Armstrong is piloting a plane with its only engine being a rocket that quickly burns out and he must guide it back from the tip top of the atmosphere. It also goes through similar missions, including a Gemini 8, where Neil Armstrong launches into orbit for some time and almost doesn't make it back. This is a common theme throughout the film, which it shows you just how dangerous space travel is and how many people lost their lives to get to the goal that we know today of landing on the moon. My favorite scene talks about the infamous Apollo 1. For those who don't know, Apollo 1 was the very first mission, part of the program that was to send people to the moon, and this was a very simple test. The 3 astronauts would sit in the capsule, it was here on Earth, and they would do some tests to make sure the capsule was running properly. However, disaster struck, the capsule caught on fire, and sadly all 3 astronauts lost their lives. What was truly empowering about the scene is just how much buildup there was beforehand, because these characters were not just introduced. They made sure that you followed them and you felt for them and you knew them as people, just as Neil Armstrong did in real life. And what it really allowed for is that you felt loss and you felt grief, just as Neil Armstrong did, when you hear the news that all 3 astronauts perished in that fire. What's also really powerful is that you keep remembering that scene because of how close it is to other missions, and when Neil Armstrong is launching on a rocket into space, you remember how those astronauts lost their lives in just a simple test. While there are many scenes like that truly make you feel chilled or scared or even anxious, there are definitely things the film could have improved on. Most of all, I have to say that the story was very stretched out and very long. They tried to focus on 3 things, it seemed. They tried to focus on the actual space missions, NASA history. They tried to focus on Neil Armstrong as a man, and they tried to also focus as Neil Armstrong as a family man, as a father. While I think all 3 stories are really worth telling, I feel like one of them or 2 of them could have got cut back or even removed completely, because it just makes too much, and by the end of it, you're just left exhausted. I do have to compliment the film though. The ending and the beginning were perfectly executed, and despite most people knowing how the film is going to end, I still recommend you stay till the end and watch it, because it's truly a cinematic experience that's worth to see on IMAX screens. Sadly, also on an IMAX screen, the cinematography truly suffers. What they decided to do was to have a lot of quick moving shots where it's extremely dizzying and extremely fast paced. In the beginning, this is extremely exciting, and I absolutely love that they did this. It got you into the story, it made you feel how Neil Armstrong was feeling really well, but after 2 hours of the camera constantly moving, you just wanted a break. They could have definitely stabilized the shots more, but what it did do is that when the camera was still, it added a lot more intensity. A similar thing happened with sound. Throughout the film, there is a lot of sound design, there's a massive soundscape, and really, the sound in this film is just immaculate and so creatively done. Yet, there are only a few shots in this film where the camera is still, and there is no sound, and it is the few most powerful shots in the film. If you'd like to know what shots they are, and I absolutely do think that people should see those specific shots and those specific scenes, you should definitely watch the film. I have to say that this is not necessarily a mature story, but it's definitely an intense story. So I would recommend an age rating from 12 to 18, and that would also give kids a chance to mature a little bit so they can better understand the true impact of what's being shown on screen. I give this film 3 out of 5 stars because I think there is so much that they did right. The soundscape is really legendary. Acting is also incredible. Ryan Gosling did such an amazing performance as Neil Armstrong. But I feel like that the story could have been changed a lot and cut back on a lot. And I also feel like the cinematography did nothing but hurt the film most of the time. If you'd like to check out First Man, and I definitely recommend you do, it's in theaters near you October 11th. I'm Gerry O reporting for Kids First. Bye!